Welcome ladies and gents, Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter, or of course you can subscribe to the channel Let's Talk Boxing. I was going to upload part 4 of my discussion with Steve Kim. We covered an array of boxing topics and I've been getting some great feedback, so thank you guys for tuning in. Part 4 though can wait until tomorrow because the Haney-Lomachenko debate continues to rage on, and because so many people from both sides are biased scoundrels of ill repute, it is the job of Judge Chris Andre to get involved as he always does, play the defense and prosecution in order to bring justice and order to the court. So let's get into this. You know, I saw Hatman's video today as well about his definition of what it means for a robbery to have occurred, and I think the problem is that both sides of the aisle, whether they're Haney fans or Lomachenko fans, they actually have a right to be angry. I can see some righteous indignation on both sides, and it has to do with the fact that the definition of robbery is different. So let's get into this and let's talk first and foremost about why the Devin Haney fans are angry. Now, one potential perspective is one that was shared very articulately by Hatman today. It's the idea that the term robbery is overused. The fact of the matter is, if you can make a case for a guy winning 7 rounds, then it can't possibly be a robbery. In other words, if Haney was to have won 3 rounds clearly and there were another 2 swing rounds in there and all the other rounds were clear Loma rounds, 7 clear Loma rounds, then there is no way that you can justly make a case for Haney winning any sort of fight. But if Haney won 3 rounds clearly and 4 rounds are swing rounds, well then you can potentially make a case for Haney winning because you can give all those swing rounds to Haney. Now, some people will say, yeah, but it's biased to give all the swing rounds to the same person. Not necessarily, because if you like one particular thing and you're consistent in your criteria for scoring a round, it's possible that you go the same way if those rounds repeat themselves to a degree. So for argument's sake, if you are a guy who generally favors activity, how many punches are landing, rather than how damaging punches are, well then if your guy is landing more punches in 4 rounds, but the other guy is landing the more solid punches, if you always prefer activity, well then you're always going to score those 4 rounds in favor of your guy. You're not trying to cheat, it's just what it is that you subjectively prefer as a judge. So what the Haney fans are saying here is, look, you guys are saying this is a robbery, but the fact of the matter is Lomachenko did not win 7 rounds. He did not win 6 rounds clearly. And if he did not win 6 rounds clearly, that leaves a space for Devin Haney to have won 6 or 7 rounds. In other words, it leaves a space for Devin Haney not to have lost the fight, whether that means draw or victory. And so they're furious. Now, in addition to that, there are a couple of arguments that have been put forth today by Lomachenko fans and also by Devin Haney fans, contrasting arguments about different topics. And they're trying to use it as a gotcha moment. This is going to add weight to our side of the argument. The truth is, both of those positions can be undermined, and we'll get to that later on. But first, let's talk about why Lomachenko fans are furious. We've talked about Devin Haney fans, and I've spoken about why they are right to be angry if they're going to take that position. Loma did not win 7 clear rounds. He did not win 6 clear rounds. And as a result of that, when rounds are up there to be sort of decided upon as a judge, as an observer, it's hard to say that this was a robbery or that there's proof of there being a robbery. So let's say, for argument's sake, you're watching a fight between fighter A and fighter B. No names, right? They win 3 rounds each, clearly. That leaves 6 rounds that are then close. Now, as you're watching it, you say to yourself, you know what, they're all close rounds, but 4 of those 6 is fighter B that wins them. He should get the result here. And instead, the result goes to fighter A. But what if, for argument's sake, just an analogy, remember, an investigation is carried out, and the judge is found to have accepted money in order to give the fight to fighter A? Are you going to turn around and say, well, it's still not a robbery because there were 6 rounds that are up for grabs? The rounds were close. They were swing rounds. But what you saw is one judge doing his utmost to give those close rounds to a specific fighter to ensure that he gets the result. Now, with that in mind, and like I said, I'm not saying that took place here. I just want to use that analogy so you can understand why, even without 7 clear rounds, you can still make a case for a robbery in the eyes of fans. Particularly if those fans feel as though they can see evidence of something untoward occurring, something that cannot simply be explained away by human incompetence or human error. When you're looking at Moretti's card, and he gives round 10 to Devin Haney. Devin Haney did not win round 9 either, by the way. But when you, and we'll get to that later on, but when you see round 10 and Moretti scores that round to Haney, you have to ask yourself, is it possible for an experienced judge to simply give round 10 to Haney due to human error? Can you make any sort of case for it? If not, you have to ask, why did that occur? You see, at the end of each round, you have to mark down your scorecard. And there's somebody there that looks at the scorecard, an adjudicator, and he makes sure you've written down your scorecard. If you are scoring the fight, and as you're scoring it, as a judge, you're thinking, I really need to give this to fighter A, right? I need to give it to Haney. I need to. And remember, I'm not suggesting this has occurred at all. But let's just say, for argument's sake, something untoward was going on, and I need to give it to Haney. As the fight starts to wear on, and I realize it's actually Lomachenko that's getting the momentum here. If he goes on to win these last few rounds, because you don't know that he's not going to put his foot on the gas in round 12. So as you're starting to see, he's starting to win these rounds now. He's starting to turn this around. He's having the momentum, and he's got enough rounds available to him where he can win this fight. I, as a judge, need to find an excuse to give him one of those rounds. So let me give him round 10, because now I'm in a state of panic. Now I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what my job is. I'm in the bag, so to speak. Now I have to give him one of those rounds. You see, if you believe that round 10 cannot be human error because it was so obvious, you have to explain why Moretti did what he did. But in addition to this, apart from it just being a one-off night, a bad night for Moretti, this is the same judge who, when Ryan Garcia got dropped by Tank Davis, gave an even round because Ryan Garcia had started the round well. He didn't batter Tank, he didn't have him rocking and wobbling and the ropes kept him up, or something that's made you think, wow man, he proper battered him, and like, you know, maybe the knockdown, it was a bit of a flash knockdown. That's not what happened. It was a heavy knockdown after Ryan Garcia really let his hands go, had a good start to the round, but it was a heavy knockdown. And Tank was never in trouble in that round. How can you make a case for 10-10? So if you can't make a case for 10-10, if you're a Tank Davis fan, and that fight finishes, let's say it goes to points for argument's sake, and Ryan wins by 3 points, are you as a Tank Davis fan going to turn around and say, well, to be honest with you, even without the knockdown, that was only 2 extra points, you know, even if it was 10-8, does it matter? Ryan would have won anyway. No, you're not going to say that. What you're going to say is, yeah, but he was clearly looking for an excuse to give the fight to Ryan. So now in the other swing rounds, how can I possibly trust him to have made the just decision when that round he clearly was not just? Moretti was also the judge that gave the second Canelo Golovkin fight to Canelo Alvarez. Now, as I said the other day in the video, that has been revised in terms of history. 59 ringside observers, pundits, fighters, reporters were polled at the time. Only 2 gave that fight to Canelo Alvarez. 40 gave it to Golovkin, and 17 gave it a draw. And 1,773 fans were polled of their scorecards, and the average was 116-113 to Gennady Golovkin. Now, since then, the narrative has changed, and as promoters want to start pushing a new narrative to promote a given fight, and they want to make out like it's the 2 best in the division facing off against each other and stuff like that, narratives start to get recycled, narratives start to change. And as a result of that, a lot of people are now saying, oh, Golovkin definitely won the first fight. People who used to say Golovkin definitely won the second fight, even after rewatch they said that, and now they sort of softened a little bit on their position. Things change over time, but the fact of the matter is, Moretti was in the extreme minority back then as well, and what did he do? He gave it to the guy with the financial upside. Ryan Garcia, many would argue, yes, Tank was the face of boxing, but if Ryan got in America, but if Ryan had beaten Tank, he suddenly becomes the face of boxing in the United States. Is that not unusual? Devin Haney, if it's true that he's signed with Top Rank, there's more financial upside for Devin Haney to win. Something that I said in the build-up to the fight. Now, I know Top Rank and Devin have refuted those claims. They've said Paulie Malignaggi's talking rubbish, and we know Paulie dislikes Devin Haney, so it's very possible that he's talking rubbish. He has not signed. But if it's true that he has signed behind the scenes, something that's very possible, it would be the smart move from Top Rank, by the way, to sign him up to say, listen, Devin, we'll look after you. Sign with us. That would be the smart play, because there's more financial upside moving forward if he's going to stay with Top Rank. Because of this furore now and those accusations, the smart play again would be to keep it quiet. Don't say anything. You don't have to release it to the world. Okay, Devin, you've signed, you keep the contract, hush, hush. We'll announce it in 5 months from now, 3 months, whenever it is you're next going to be out, and you'll be facing a top-ranked fighter. And we'll talk about it then. But for now, just tell the world you haven't signed. The fact of the matter is we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes there. But Moretti has had numerous situations where he's gone quite staunchly against the general public. There's also been a rumour, and again I can't verify this, that Team Lomachenko tried to get him taken off of the judging panel. There were 3 American judges. That is not typical when it comes to such a big fight. He was one of the ones they wanted to get out. According to the social media rumours, I can't verify that. They didn't manage it. So all these things add weight to the Lomachenko side of the argument that it was a robbery. It's not the fact that it was such a clear win that for Haney to have got it, it must have been a robbery. Not at all. If you're out there and you're telling me, Chris, I genuinely scored it to Devin Haney, I believe you. I'm not sitting there saying you're biased unless you've got previous of being biased, right? But there are a lot of people whose views I respect, a lot of people who are genuine, honest guys who have commented on my videos who genuinely scored it to Devin Haney. That's just how you scored it. But when we're talking about judges and you see something so out of character, so out of the norm, not out of character, it's not out of character, that's the point, but it's so out of the norm to give that 10th round to Devin Haney, you have to ask yourself, what was the motive of that? And that's why Loma fans are furious. Now, in terms of the gotcha moments that both sides of the aisle have put forward, Lomachenko fans have put out a video today where it shows Devin Haney in the corner and he's asking Bill Haney for advice essentially, and he's basically talking as though Loma has figured him out. You know, Bill's telling him, yeah, he's one and done. He'll throw that left once and it's done. And he's saying, no, he's not throwing it just once. He's reading that I'm moving to my left. He's reading it. He's figured me out, basically. And Bill Haney's advice isn't great in that moment. He seems a little bit perplexed. And so Loma fans are saying, see, he knew he was losing the fight. That's not necessarily the case. He knew the momentum was against him. He knew he had been figured out. He was in a state of panic. He was getting out-thought. He was getting out-maneuvered. But that was quite late in the fight. That was at the end of round 9, I think it was. That's a different thing. By the way, it's at the end of round 9, I believe. That was a round also that Moretti gave to Haney. And Haney's in a clear panic. He did not win that round. So that is not an I gotcha moment from Lomachenko fans. It just tells you that his momentum has switched. It doesn't mean he didn't feel like he was winning the early rounds. The other thing that Haney fans have put forward, which is also not an I gotcha moment, is that Shakur Stevenson told Spencer Fearon in an interview, I rewatched the fight and I had it 7-5 or a draw. And so the Devin Haney fans have jumped on this now and they're saying, you see, he's changing his mind now. He's seen the fight on rewatch. He didn't get a good view in the arena and stuff like that. That's not an I gotcha moment either. He's telling you I either had it 7-5, so Lomachenko winning, or perhaps a draw. So from his initial position of 8-4 Loma, and it's a robbery, he's swung 1 round, or possibly 2. He's telling you the wrong man got the job done though, got the result. He's telling you it was either a Loma victory or a draw. And Spencer Fearon, who everybody knows I really like Spencer, right? Got a bit of a soft spot for Spencer. He then says, okay, so then that's only 1 more round away from Devin Haney winning the fight. Relax, Spencer. That's not. I know you've had Bill Haney on the show, but that's not the same thing, okay? Because if you're talking about that's the area that he sees, 7-5 or a draw, he's telling you it's somewhere in that bracket of what is acceptable. Outside of that is not acceptable. If I give 6 rounds clearly to one guy, if I give 6 rounds clearly to one guy, it means the other guy may have won 6-2 or he may have won 5. He can't have won 7. So if his position is it was either 7-5 or a draw, it means Devin Haney did not win the fight. So that's not an I gotcha moment either. That's me being as fair as and impartial as I can be, as I always am, playing the defense and the prosecution, explaining to you why Devin Haney fans are angry. Lomachenko did not win 7 clear rounds. This was not a fight where somebody got schooled. The portrayal is that this was a travesty, that Lomachenko's petitioning to get himself into a mandatory position with all of the governing bodies in order to get a rematch. And I can't hold that against Loma. It shows that he still has hunger for success, right? But people are saying they're going on like this is some sort of no contest, that it was some shocking result and that it was clear as day that Lomachenko won the fight. No, it wasn't. This was a close competitive fight. It's not a ridiculous thing to say I felt Devin Haney won 7 rounds. So that's why the Devin Haney fans are angry, because of the portrayal of this being a travesty. By the same token, Loma fans are angry because they feel that Loma won his winning rounds a lot more clearly. Why did all the close rounds go to Devin Haney? And isn't it a sign, they would argue, that the fact that Moretti gave the 10th to Haney a display of the fact that he was looking for an excuse to score to Devin Haney? In which case, there's an injustice. In which case, there is a robbery. Both sides of the aisle have points to make. Let me know what you think, ladies and gents. Please don't forget to hit a stiff jab on the like button, a right cross on the subscribe button, and an uppercut on the notifications button. Thanks for watching. Take care. God bless. Judge Chris Andre in the house. Forget Judge Judy.